I was at work the other day when, during the course of the news cycle, Elon Musk was talking to Volkswagen, and somebody at the office had the bright idea to run with the headline, "Why Elon Musk Should Sell Tesla to Volkswagen." Now, this is a ridiculous headline. There are no good reasons for Elon Musk to sell Tesla to Volkswagen, nor would he ever sell Tesla to Volkswagen. So why was this headline proposed, and then why was this headline run with? This headline went out on the platform. Well, because it's there to generate clicks. Because most of media currently is dependent on advertising. Media in the last 15 years has skewed heavily towards relying on advertising to meet ends meet. Where in the past, when you think about the classic Edward R. Murrows and the objective journalism in the 1950s doing all the hard-hitting reporting, when they talk like this forever, it's because they relied on subscriptions. And subscriptions allow a media company to be slightly less dependent on catering towards advertisers. And what do advertisers want? Well, normally they want as many eyeballs as possible to lazily look at their ad, to not think too complexly about whether they really need the Rolex or whether they really need the new vacuum cleaner. And so, when media companies are dependent on advertisers for the bulk of their revenue, they're creating content on an intrinsic level around generating eyeballs for that advertising content. And the switch to subscription content, which is slowly but surely growing, will have an effect on the normative return to a modicum of objective journalism. And you see this already with the New York Times. The New York Times, for the first time, has a large subscriber base, large enough that its revenue is off the charts relative to basically any other newspaper in the country. Its profits are high enough that it's able to expand in multiple verticals. It's hiring reporters in bureaus around the world. It has a #1 podcast. And you might think, well, the New York Times, what does this have to do with anything? The New York Times is a great example of the power of subscriptions, because the New York Times, despite all its criticisms, remains relatively objective relative to other American media outlets. If you're going to pick one, let's all be honest here for a second and set aside our political differences and say, well, if we had to read one newspaper, and I guess, what would I choose? We'd probably all choose the New York Times. Because we all deep down know, they might be a little left-leaning, but they'll give us the facts for the most part. And why is it the New York Times don't do that? It's because it's successfully converted the most subscribers. And when you have subscribers, you're not dependent on meeting advertisers' needs every week, every month, hitting a certain number of concurrent eyeballs, hitting a certain number of clicks. You know that money's coming in, and you can reallocate a lot of your reporters' resources and time to doing more in-depth pieces, more contextualizing of the news, sussing out more nuanced and more unique stories that appeal to a niche audience. And these are all good things, but they're able to be done on the backs of subscriptions. And historically, you had a weird quasi-mix where the big newspapers, the Chicago Tribune, the LA Times, you just think of your big American city newspaper, they had a lot of subscriptions, but they also ran advertising as well. So while they had part of their revenue, their operating costs covered by subscriptions, they also wanted to take a cut of advertising. And the internet came in and disrupted that entirely. It obliterated the idea of subscriptions. And it basically forced every media company from the New York Times to BuzzFeed to become those goofy little newspaper articles you see floating around on the streets out of the plastic bins. You pull it down and it's been covered with somebody's vomit, and it's free. It's just free. You pull this plastic bin thing down if you want to grab a free newspaper, and it's 99% ads. That's why they're giving it away for free. They just want people to read it so they can say, look at, 100,000 people looked at your ad. That's what it forced every media company into doing, giving away all the content possible for free, because they were going to make up their money on the advertising. They're going to say, we just need to get as many eyeballs as possible, because then we can turn around and sell it to the advertisers. But with the subscription model, you don't have to do that. Some media companies are now able to say, wait a minute, we can charge, and when we charge and reach a high enough threshold, then we can focus on more nuanced reporting. And you might think, well, hey, not so fast. The subscribers then have undue control over the media company the same way advertisers do. Just like advertisers had an undue control over media companies, forcing or incentivizing a media company to focus on sensationalism, to clickbait, all the things we despise in modern digital media companies. Well, wouldn't a subscriber base have the same control over that media company. Because they're the ones paying the money each month, they could threaten to unsubscribe. And so therefore, that media company is going to cater to the taste of their subscribers. They might just appeal to conservatives. They might just appeal to liberals, or appeal to socialists. And that's true. You could be like a New Statesman or a National Review, a smaller ideological publication that has a small amount of subscribers, and they do appeal to their subscriber base. But when you get a large enough tent, and that's the key, is to get a large enough subscriber tent, a big tent full of big subscribers that's diverse enough, you can't cater too strongly to one without losing the other. And that forces some objectivism to occur. When you get such a large subscriber base under your media company, it forces you actually to be more objective because you don't want to alienate any one group. So you stick to a little more down the line, a little more of the middle of the road reporting that most Americans appreciate. And in fact, this is why I think if we were forced to choose one television channel to watch for news, and we sat and thought about it for a second, what would we choose? Probably PBS, if we're totally honest, right? Like CNN, we all know CNN's a bit rubbish, even if you're liberal. And we all know Fox is a bit rubbish, even if you're conservative. I think if we had to only watch one television news channel, probably PBS NewsHour, right? We figure, they might lean a little bit left, but they'll probably tell us to a straight. Why? Because PBS isn't dependent on advertisers. They know there's an X amount of money coming in no matter what, which allows them to contextualize the news a little bit more and desensationalize the news. These are good things. And you see this already occurring with the New York Times in the last year. As the New York Times balloons in subscribers, they're having a difficult time. The initial subscribers, the ones that would have normally had a control over the New York Times, are a little upset. They're thinking, hey, New York Times, aren't you supposed to be the bulwark, the iron shield against the fury of Donald Trump? Why aren't you going after Donald Trump, as much as you should, as voraciously as we demand you to? And the truth is, because the New York Times has so many subscribers that they gotta be a little bit objective. They can't hit on Donald Trump as hard as maybe some of their more liberal subscribers would like. Even their early adopter subscribers would like. And you see this taking place even in the New York Times newsroom. All the transcripts that have been leaked between internal meetings that the New York Times have had, the larger individuals in the masses have had to defend their more objective take on Donald Trump to their reporters, saying, listen, we understand some of your reporters and some of our subscribers may want us to go after Donald Trump more than we are, but in reality, we need to be objective and fair. We need to be very careful about how we use loaded words like racist or racism. And this is good. This means that if this model of the New York Times can work for other media companies, you may see a return to a modicum of objective journalism. Is it going to be perfect? No. But it may switch out of the doldrums of this clickbait, sensationalized Twitter cesspool that is media currently. And in 10 to 20 years, as a few media companies get sustainable through subscribers, we might see a real renaissance, a rebirth of solid contextual reporting. And that's a future I'm excited for. That's a future we should all be excited for. Food for thought. Let me know what you guys think down below. I find this a curious thought experiment both for consumers of news and for future reporters to think about how their role as a reporter may change as the economic model of journalism changes itself and has changed through the decades and through the centuries. Leave a comment down below, like, subscribe. See you guys tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Bye.